Hello, everybody, and welcome to the LFC Transfer Room live stream with myself, Chad, Maddie, and Race. Thank you guys, everybody, so much for joining us. Just a small bit of housekeeping before we get into the stream and the topics for this evening. Please do make sure to like and subscribe. Make sure you have your notifications on for all future streams and videos. We're very close to our 10,000 subscribers goal. So please do help us out with that and help us hit that goal. It'll be very much appreciated. We'll try and hit it hopefully before the end of this transfer window. But without further ado, we'll kind of get into the topics of it. And realistically, the first one is that FFP finally has a bit of teeth in it. With the likes of Newcastle, Everton, Nottingham Forest, Everton already getting slapped with 10 points of a deduction and possibly more if they continue to breach. City with their 115 charges that have their court date set for later on in the year. And now we have Newcastle that reported losses of over 70 million this particular, or last year, should I say. And now need to sell somebody, and it seems that Bruno Guimaraes has been the weakest link, and they must say goodbye to him, unfortunately. But it's not going to happen this January. It's going to happen in the summer, and there's been reports come out that have just said that there is no hope of Liverpool going near him, although I wouldn't want him myself, but obviously my opinions might differ from the lads. But there are other players like Sven Botman, maybe Alexander Isak, other players such as that might be on the chopping line as well, hopefully to get them back in the green. But I'll pass it over to my panel, Race. First of all, Race, I'll throw it over to yourself first. Like, seems to be a bit of a fire sale going on with a number of other clubs. You have Nottingham Forest flirting with the line. You have Newcastle flirting with the line and need to sell to fall back into that and possibly may miss out on big money chances for Champions League and European football next season. Is there anybody from any particular team that we know of that's been hit with FFP or close to it? Everton, Forest, Newcastle. Is there anybody from those teams that you'd maybe think of maybe taking a swing at?
I think you mentioned Botman there. He'd be one I'd be interested in. I think we were interested in him when he first moved to Newcastle. We just didn't get that deal done there. Obviously, he would be one to keep my eye on for, center back depth. I think he was a pretty good player for them. And, of course, they had a good season last year, and he was a part of that. I think, proven Premier League, players is definitely a plus, something that you look at. And I think he's still a relatively young player. So, kind of fits right in with the profile of what we purchase. I can't say there's too many other options that, intrigue me and whatnot. Isak is another one that's maybe intriguing, but I don't think we would go for a striker like that. So Botman would be a solid, take a look at, see if, you can get something for him.
Yeah, it's to be honest, I don't think there's anybody from those particular teams that I go for in my own opinion. The only person that I probably would have gone for if we didn't already have McAllister and Szoboszlai would have been Bruno Guimaraes, but even at the price that he's been quoted for his release clause, which is £98 million, I think that's absolutely nuts. Maddie, is there anybody that you'd consider from any of the teams, maybe even Onana from Everton, if they were ever going to lose their mind and sell him to us?
I like him, to be honest. Onana from Everton, I'd love to get him, but there's no way they'd sell him to us. Just trying to ouch. How old is Bruno Guimaraes? 26. Yeah, 100 mil for him's a bit much. I like Sangado at Forest. I don't think we've seen the best of him in the Premier League. I think that was a huge deal for them to get him at Forest. I don't think we've seen the best of him because there's so many players, so much chopping and changing there. I think Klopp could unlock someone like that. I could see us going in for Bruno Guimaraes as the 6. I think it would please a lot of our fan base getting that out-and-out 6 as well. But I'd much prefer to get Sangar, really, and I agree with Paul in the comments, or Bramthwaite from Everton. I mean, if we could pick someone from Everton, I think out of them sides, Everton's got the most players who I'd probably go for, because they've got Bramthwaite, they've got Onana, and I like that kid they got from United as well. I can't think of his name off the top of my head.
Yeah, I can't think of his name either, but I know the guy that you're on about. Yeah,
he's very good. But I think the most likable team to sell to us is Forest. For old time's sake, I wouldn't mind Divock back if it's on the cheap. To be honest, just for the nostalgia. But I think Sangar's the one who I'd say out for all of them.
We were linked with him earlier on in the summer as well, so like it's not as if we don't already have a repertoire with the player. So
and I think he's a player who could come in and improve us. I don't think we have seen the best of him at Forest. I think similar to like Andy Robert, we weren't unbelievable at Hull. He came to us and being the best in the world, so I think Klopp could improve him. If Bruno was just maybe 2 years younger, I wouldn't be against spending that money on him. But with him being 26, nearly 27, you're spending nearly 100 mil on someone. That's the age Fab come in. You're going to have them, 3-4 years and ship him off. That's quite expensive. Or Gibbs White from Forest as well. Yeah, I rate. I know Charlie does as well. More than Gibbs White, fantastic.
Yeah. Chad, similar question to yourself. We've Paul here mentioning obviously Morgan Gibbs White, and then we also have him mentioning Jared Brentwaite from Everton. There's two players there that are some from lesser teams that seem to be flirting with FFP at the moment. Is there anybody that we haven't named so far? I know we mentioned Onana from Everton. Obviously, it's very unlikely that Everton will sell to us. There's obviously Sangare from Nottingham Forest that we were linked to earlier on in the summer as well. That a lot of people really liked him as an out and out six. We then have, as Maddie said, if maybe Guimaraes was maybe a year or two younger, is there anybody that takes your fancy or you've taken a liking to from those teams that we may get on the cheap? Obviously, Guimaraes has a release clause, but he's not being sold for anything less than that to a Prem team.
Yeah, for me, it'll be very similar to what the guys have been saying. Bruno for the 6, be a quality player. Obviously, age and the value of him is too high, and then. For me, I think a bit Gibbs White. I think Klopp's building a nice young midfield. Gibbs White can slot into that midfield. He can also be deployed on the left side. So if there is any issues, we can have cover with Gibbs White. So something like that. I know that you said that Arsenal were one of the teams that are also facing this kind of financial issue.
Yeah.
Obviously, they're not as bad as the rest of the teams, but maybe going into Arsenal side. For me personally, I'm a kind of a romantic when it comes to players and the underdog story. So maybe go rescue Smith Rowe. I see him as it could be a decent player. He has that quality like a Harvey Elliott, like Curtis Jones, that can play in the midfield and also up front and provide something for us that he's not currently being able to do at Arsenal. So. For me, it's a tough one because, again, Everton is a team that's not going to sell to us because it's Everton and Liverpool. Even though Braithwaite he does need a team that can help develop him, help him see the big stars. Nana is also a good shout for the 6th position. He looks fantastic in that midfield. But yeah, it's for me. I'll go to Arsenal. I'll try to take maybe someone from Arsenal, a Smith Rowe, maybe a Fabio. I forgot how you say his name, Ferran. But yeah, other than that, I don't have a lot of options out of those 2 teams. Maybe Joe Willock. Sorry, maybe Joe Willock, underdog.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a Chamberlain, Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain kind of signing, where he's, he was signed to be the star at Newcastle. Then Newcastle got the money, and then got pushed to the side for Bruno and for Joe Linton and that. So maybe kind of go for him as well. He could be a decent option in the midfield. He has the defensive capabilities to play in the 6 or so. So he's kind of like a McAllister in a sense that he can play in the midfield, he can play in the 8 or in the 6. He has good attacking ability and he has good defensive ability. So he'll help us in the pressing game as well. So someone like that maybe.
Yeah, there's plenty of options as you mentioned there. Like we really want a particular profile that we can see here. Paul is asking Maddie, you don't like Anthony Robinson from Fulham at all? No, how come?
No, I don't think I think he's all right as a defender. I've watched Anthony Robinson since very, very young. Like Liverpool Foundation College, a lot of my friends play for them, and he come up against them, and he's one player who I still to this day don't know how he made it to the Premier League. Honestly, I think he's really improved since being at Fulham. I think he's a really good defender, but going forward, he's poor. And I think this Liverpool side needs a fullback who can attack as well and who can whip them balls in, which Robinson lacks. If he could add that to his game, definitely. But I think Anthony Robinson would be extremely stupid to come to Liverpool, where he would be third choice in 2 months when Costas and Robin are back.
Not even
but that's
2
the
months.
Thing also, like what kind of, where do we need to fill in players? Where do we need players? Because you look at the team, and we talked about this on the stream on Wednesday, that we're starting to see Klopp 2.0, especially from the West Ham game until now. Onto how we've been playing up until now. Where do we need to add anyway? Where's the position that we need to add desperately? And
centre back, realistically.
Centre back, yeah, 100%. But that's where you go with Braithwaite. But you can't get Braithwaite because he's at Everton. So you know what I mean. Maybe Botman from Newcastle. So it depends on where do we need to fit in. What kind of what kind of player can fit into our system, and where do we need them in the team? Sorry.
Yeah, exactly. I know Matty has very strong feelings about this particular comment from Paul.
Curtis Jones is better than Declan Rice, and I'll die on this hill.
Race, I'll give it to an impartial rather than a scouser. I know it's a massively hilarious hypothetical and it should never happen. But if Arsenal were to come in for Curtis Jones, is there a price that would make you interested?
He's been playing really well. Curtis has. He's really cementing himself in the team. I mean, he's really, in a year where we're bringing in a lot of midfielders. I mean, Curtis has stepped up his game. I mean, the competition I think has brought out the best in him, and that's one of the things I really liked about bringing in all these midfielders. Is going to elevate kind of everyone in the room. So now he's putting himself, on that first name team sheet. She'd be starting, in our first team. I can't say. I don't know. Yeah, you guys are obviously, all Curtis Jones and whatnot. I like him too, certainly. I'm sure there's some sort of price that would maybe take it, but given how we're playing right now, I wouldn't make the swap. I mean, we're playing really well. He's a young player. His best days are still ahead of him, which I think is a scary thing to think about. Like, he can be even better than he is now. I mean, we see he's adding some goals to his game, and he's really, driving forward. He's ambitious. He's making runs. He's really becoming the player that we all hoped he could become. I remember coming up through the youth ranks, he was kind of more of a left wingers type and thing, bumped him back into midfield, and now he's kind of showing that that winger that he has in him, it's really starting to show, and so he's just a really promising talent for us.
Yeah, I to be honest with you, I think he's actually realised, and I think he realised it in the Fulham game in the FA Cup, or the Carabao Cup, excuse me, that he actually has a bit of pace to him, and he can actually outrun players. And you've seen it when, I can't remember what minute it was, but the ball just came down and just one touch with his right foot and pinged it past their central player. I can't remember who it was, but I'm sure you can remember it yourselves. Just pinged it past him. He was already 2 yards behind him, and then by the time he got to the ball, he'd shoved him off it and was a yard ahead of him at the same time. He's starting to realise and get an awful lot more confidence into himself of how he can play and how he can benefit this team. And a question from Addy from Paul in relation to Jones as well. Where would he start? If Endo, McAllister and Szoboszlai are all fit and available, would you start him in that midfield? I already know your answer, but
I think, honestly, Curtis Jones is the first name in the midfield, because look at the games Jones hasn't started, how badly he performed. His hold-up play, his distribution. He's the modern-day Genie. For me, like, when you took Genie out of our team, we seem to drop off massively, and Jones offers that with his hold-up play, is getting forward. A lot of games this season, he's looked like the only player who looks arsed as well, to be fair. The games he hasn't started, I think we've been poor in the midfield. But he's at my best midfield for Liverpool would be Endo, Thiago, and Szoboszlai. But because I don't think any of our midfielders are better than Thiago, but it's just when he's fit. But I do think I'd start Jones as an 8, Paul. I think he can play 6, but he's better as an 8. But for me, Curtis Jones is one of the first names in that midfield every week. And that's why Klopp consistently plays him every week, because he's so important to that side. He can help track back, especially like if Robbo's bombing forward, he is capable enough to track back and cover the left back position. He can go in the double pivot mid-game and help Trent go forward more, so he's helping Mac in that double pivot. I think Klopp's favoured midfield is McAllister, Szoboszlai and Jones, to be honest. As good as Endo's been, and for me, I think he's undroppable. I think if everyone was fit and available, I think he'd continue to start McAllister in the 6. But for me, Jones is probably the first midfielder on the team. He's that important to us, and I've been saying it for years and years and years, and it's obviously got a bit of family bias in it. But for me, he's so important to this side. He really is, and what he offers and what he can do, and the passion, and he's just, I love him. I think he's a fantastic footballer, and finally, in the last 12 months, the majority of our fan base have realised that. It's been quite warming to see when Arsenal have wanted them, all the fans saying absolutely no way, and that shows how important he is. But just go and watch back games this season where Jones hasn't started, and look how poor we are in the middle.
It's an interesting one, because if you talked to us 12 months ago, we'd have bitten your hand off to have this problem, that we don't know who our best midfield three is. And there's arguments to be made for 6 different players to be a starting midfielder in Liverpool's midfield, that you could easily make an argument for 6 different players that all have their pros and cons. Like, we'd have taken your hand off for that at this time last season very, very easily. And it's absolutely fantastic to see. And it is, Paul, it's criminal to see him only on 15 grand a week. And I know 100%. It's chump change, or it's a serious amount of money to most of us plebeians, but like in football speaking terms, that's he's on benefits, like, basically.
He's getting a new deal. I've been told probably by the end of this month, but he is getting a new deal, and it's a massive.
It wouldn't shock me. It wouldn't shock me. Like, I think he'll get about 100 grand a week, maybe 80.
95 is what I've heard in the grapevine. Like, but he's fantastic. And that comment there about him maybe getting a big head, he's not. He is being bigged up since he was a kid. Steven Gerrard, his idol, was bigging him up when he was a kid. Like, he's got a good head on his shoulders, Curtis, to be fair to him. Yeah. He's going to go far.
Do you know where I'd love actually to bring Steven Gerrard in, since he's really sort of shat the bed as a manager? Bring him in as a youth team scout or youth team coach, because he called Curtis years ago, and now look at him. So I'd much rather, I'd love to bring in Steven Gerrard as that. First of all, it's a talisman of the club to have in there, and clearly he is a good eye. And we seem to be focusing an awful lot more on youth now with Trent Cone-Doherty, and we have Trey Neone as well, and now we've Chambers and we've Bradley coming through as fullbacks, multiple other players like that as well. It's fantastic to see, and I think it's time. It's long overdue that we've decided to try and catch up with City and Chelsea in regards to their academies, and it's well beyond time at this point. But before we get into the next topic, I just want to say to everybody, please do make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. We would very much appreciate it if you could. We're trying to hit 10k subscribers, hopefully before the end of this transfer window at the end of the month. Make sure you have your notification bell on for all future streams and videos. We are live every day from 7:30 UK time. We will be live again for our next game, which would be the 21st. Unfortunately, we're all kind of sat around twiddling our thumbs until then, but the lads deserve a break at this rate, and I think it'll actually help get an awful lot of players back. I have a feeling Dominic Szoboszlai will be back. I have a feeling I feel it in my balls that Trent is going to be back for that 21st. He says he's not going to be back till the 31st, but I just have a feeling he'll be back, and this 10 to 11 day stretch between the games will absolutely help him perfectly, which is why I have him left in my FPL team. So that's the reason for that. But we will move on to our next topic, which is Liverpool's interest in a French centre-back, another French centre-back. The last time we bought one, it didn't seem to work out too badly, considering that's Ibrahima Konate, with Jean-Clair Todibo is his name. That's a tongue twister of a name. Todibo. He's plays for OGC Nice at the minute. He's 24 years old, right-footed centre back, plays both the left side and the right side. He's registered on transfer market at about 35 million euro. I think they'll ask for about 60 million euro for him, to be perfectly honest. It's looking at his statistics myself and how he fares out on possession adjusted interceptions and duels won and aerial duels won and defensive duels won. He is up there, and what I'll do is I am now going to pull up 1 second. I'm going to grab it here. Anyone that's been on with me before knows what I'm going to do. 1 second. Now we go present, share screen, and we go with this one. Is this it? No. This is it. No. This is it. No. This is it. Perfect. I'm going to share this, and I'm going to jump back in and take the brand of StreamYard because it looks like shite. But here we have centre-backs across all top 7 leagues in Europe with aerial duels 1% and defensive duels 1% in total. As we can see, we have Van Dijk over here on the far right, probably one of the best centre-backs in the world at the moment. We have somebody that I'm very much interested in Lenny Yoro, sat up here in a league of his own. We've Joel Matip sat down here, and we have some other players that will be noted in the middle of the league here, with your likes of Ruben Diaz, Nathan Ake, Josko Gvardiol, Mark Gahey, Jenna Braithwaite, William Saliba, and then we have Jean-Clair Todibo sat here right in the middle. I'll throw the question over to yourself first, Race. Just looking at this, realistically, he seems like a very, very decent signing where he sat on this chart. Like, you wanted your defender to be able to win in the air and win on the ground. He seems to be able to do that with the best of them. Do you see us moving in for him in any way, shape, or form? It'll happen in the summer. It's not going to happen this window, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, it certainly looks of a player that fits the profile of what we'd want. Still in 24 years old, I'm seeing. It's a part of the team that we need to strengthen for sure. With the uncertain future, of Joel Matip and his injury history, and Joe Gomez still undecided what we'll do with him. It's good to see him. Yeah, like you said, I don't know too much about him, but just looking at the numbers here, certainly fits the profile of what you want. He does everything you need, winning aerial duels and whatnot. I don't have much else to say, but just looks like a player that would be a good fit for us. And of course, I always trust whoever we bring in, our scouting department, our coaches, to get him right. That's really down to that. I always give him the benefit of the doubt. Even someone like Endo, who we thought wouldn't work out in our team, is looking great. So I would certainly trust going after him.
Exactly. Paul makes a point here, Matty, in this Todibo rumor is bullshit. Why would Nice, who's owned by Radcliffe, prioritize LFC over Man United? Probably because Man United couldn't afford to buy chips down the shop. To be honest with you, at the moment they only can afford loan deals right now, and Nice is in need of money, as far as I'm aware. Matty, would you be interested in this particular signing? Like, he's 24, he's right-footed. I know we kind of need to focus on maybe a left-footer. He's played both centre-back positions, left and right. Is it someone at all you've been interested in or even seen anything of at the moment?
Yeah, I like him. That was my way, like what Paul said. I know United sort of struck for cash, but they're both owned by the same fellas. He could just loan them to United, make his value even more, and then flog him for even higher again. It's someone we should be targeting. I had a quick look on FBref when you're pulling that up, on his passing stats alone. He should be considered, because we always play out from the back, and he's ranking in like the top 2% in the world for passes, and he's a defender. I think he's a fantastic player. What I have seen of him, he's unbelievably good. He's probably the closest comparison, as you can see there, to like Van Dijk, which is scary, and he's only so young. He can still develop. I think it's someone we should be targeting, to be honest. It's just whether Ratcliffe will try and rat us, because he is a proper out-and-out mank. He loves United. So Liverpool come in, he'll do anything he can to drive that price up, rat us.
Exactly.
Whether he's going to United or not, he'll say that he's going somewhere else to drive the price up and up and up. And my fear is that'll happen and we'll walk away, purely because he's owned by Ratcliffe. Yeah,
well, see, the thing about it is Lenny Yoro kind of fits more of the Lenny Yoro's in yellow, or the green, or whatever color that is, that fits more like the Van Dijk. The blue that encompasses everything and does everything is Todibo. He's nuts in his progressive pass and his forward pass and his passes in general, his carry and his aerial is very decent. His duel percentage is great. His defensive actions are great per 90. It's a fantastic player to have. And to be honest with you, as much as I'd love him, I think I'd rather go for Lenny Yoro myself. Chad, just looking at the numbers that are here, and I'll go back to the previous tab that I had so you can just have a look at how he compares. Like Lenny Yoro you have up here on the top right, you have Van Dijk here as well. You have other players that are here. Funnily enough, that's Varane that's here. How he's still there is beyond me. You have Coates there, you have Mendy there as well. You have a number of other players that land over here, and Lenny Yoro seems to be levels above everybody else. He's a very much a Joel Matip kind of a build. Very long rangy kind of a player that loves to break up play, and as you can see, he wins in the air and he wins on the ground as well. Is there somebody even on this list here, as you mentioned? We mentioned Jared Braithwaite earlier. Todibo seems to be a similar profile. Have you watched him yourself? Would you be interested in anybody else that's on this list, as you mentioned, Lenny Yoro, or is there somebody completely out of the blue that you're looking at?
Unfortunately, I haven't been able to watch Euro. I have seen a couple of clips of Todibo. I know that he has the capabilities of being like a Matip kind of Matip and Van Dijk kind of squish together player, where he can progress the ball forward as well as be that dominant centre back that we need, especially when it comes to aerial duels and intercepting the play and breaking up attacks. So for me, I would like to go for Todibo. Obviously, as the guys have mentioned, the Man United connection is kind of hard for us to go for him. But yeah, like I said, I haven't seen any of the Lenny Euro at the moment, unfortunately. So I can't, comment on him as a player. But as you can see at the numbers, he has great aerial duels. He is good with the ball. He can pass the ball forward. He has great positioning. So, he could be a decent option for us. Obviously, like Ray said, the team at Liverpool, when it comes to transfers, are very good, and they know the talent that a lot of people miss when it comes to players. So they know who to get and know when to get them. So I would leave it up to them. A player that I would suggest is someone that we've mentioned a lot of the time, Steven's best friend, Inacio. He's a quality player. I also saw that we scouting Antonio Silva, another player that we've mentioned. For me, those are the priorities for that position, because you got Antonio Silva that's basically a Portuguese Van Dijk. He has abilities to stop play. He can pass the ball forward. He can get the ball forward and interrupt the attack. He's strong in his defensive line. You got a player like Ignacio who's got a bit of a pace on him. He can also progress the ball forward. He's also a left footer, so he can fit into that left sided centre back position. For me, those are the two top options when it comes to centre backs. Todibo, it's not Todibo, sorry. Jean-Clair or Tidibo, quality player as well. Someone that can replace a Matip, someone that can be a partner to Van Dijk or partner to Konate as well. Hopefully the transfer team makes the right decisions when it comes to the centre back positions. But for me, those are the three that I'm watching. It's Ignacio, Silva, and Todibo.
Yeah, Ignacio is going to be one that's really going to be on a lot of people's minds, even with the higher release clause. I'm looking here now to see if I can find anybody at all. I'm trying to see if I can find him on that particular. There we go. There he is. I'm going to share this again now, and you'll see where Ignacio rests on this compared to Todibo, Lenny Yoro, Van Dijk, and I have one secret one that's stashed in there that I want to discuss with everybody. So you can see here, Ignacio's here. Not the greatest in his aerial duels, which is something that would worry you, considering you have the likes of Van Dijk and Konate that are in like the 99th percentile of their aerial duels. That'd be one thing that would worry me, especially as a centre back. As a left back, if he was playing there, not so much, but as a centre back, clearly you need to be able to be good in the air. He hasn't really shown it much in the Portuguese league, and if he was to come to the Premier League, that's one part of his game that would worry me slightly. But I think the rest of it would make up for it. But there is one that I would really want to keep an eye on over the next couple of years. Currently playing with Olympic Lyon. He is an Irishman, and he's just about 6'6" tall, and that is Jake O'Brien. He is an absolute monster. If anybody's been watching him, the guys that over at Lyon, I've been listening to a couple of them, and they're talking heads similarly to ourselves. They have mentioned that they weren't necessarily happy with him coming over, but he had to come in due to some injuries, and now they consider him their best player. 22-year-old, right-footed, only about 5 or 6 million on transfer market. You could easily throw 10 million at Lyon, and you could probably get him. And he'd be our next Andy Robertson, somebody that we signed from a team that's a little bit lower down, a little bit on their shit luck, that we could bring in and develop into an absolute monster and one of the best in the world. But that's just my 2 cents on that. I let everybody make their own decisions on that. But that is enough of the show and tell. We'll move on to some other topics that we have. 1 second.
There's my boss in work is from Ivory Coast, and he talks about some left centre back called Diamondi. I think he's at Sporting, and he reckons he's going to be one of the best in the world. I've seen little clips of him, and he looks the part, to be honest. He really does, but he's very, very young, 16, 17, but could maybe go and get Sporting before he then becomes there, because I feel like he'll be the one who replaces Anakio when he departs. I think he's heir to his throne.
Yeah, I'll have a look for him and I'll see if I can find him while we're all chatting, but no promises on that. But we'll just move on to. I'll have a look for, because they'll probably find him in that data MB thing. That is the godsend for finding all these kind of statistics. It's unbelievable. But before we do get into that, we'll get into one of the second last topics of today. Just make sure you like and subscribe. Make sure you have your notification bells on for all future videos and streams. We're live every day from 7:30 UK time, and we will have our next post-game stream on after the after the Bournemouth game, which will be our next game on the 21st, which I cannot wait for myself. But in moving on from who we should sign externally to who we should sign internally with some contract talk, there's been rumblings and rumors about the place that Mo Salah seems to be ready, or not ready, but he's 18 months left in his contract, and there's obviously rumors that he'll resign with the state of the Saudi league and how everything has kind of gone tits up for them. It was a very smart move for him not to move there, considering you have the likes of Jordan Henderson, who sold his soul to go over there and now is begging on his knees to come back to Ajax, along with a number of other players that just want to leave. You have Bobby Firmino that's looking to get a loan out of there. Whether that's through him or through the club is a different story. But race, the bubble seems to have burst in the Saudi league, similarly to how it did on the Chinese Super League years and years ago when that came around, when you had the likes of Hulk that went over there for a load of money and now nobody hears of him anymore. Is this a smart move by Salah to let it play out for a year before going and making his millions and billions? And do you think that we possibly could end up re-signing him this summer to an extra year, maybe two, at a more incentivized contract on a lesser per week salary rate?
Yeah, I think for Salah, it makes sense, at this stage of his career, just to kind of continue to do these short-term type deals, just because you kind of want some assurances, at this stage that the team's playing well, everything's kind of going well. I know he's obviously had a lot of success here, but you just kind of have that assurances. I don't think, given the way you've been playing and the way we continue to play, I wouldn't have any concerns right now about him, re-signing with us for another couple of years and, certainly laying on those incentives and whatnot. He's been such a loyal servant to the club. He's never, we can speak for hours on end on how great Salah's been for the club, but, it's from a business side, I think him just kind of taking these short-term stuff, makes sense, just kind of seeing how things play out. And you look at the Saudi Arabian league, how it is kind of, not going well. And boy, who could have foreseen that, right? Geez, all these guys taking paydays and no one's watching it. Ronaldo goes there and people think, oh, it's going to be great. And then no, that's not the case. I had never heard of Henderson about him until, until him wanting out. And same with Firmino, and I don't even know how Fabinho's doing down there. It's really just an afterthought. It really is a payday just to get some money, spend some time down there, whatever. Because no player with any footballing ambition would go there, if not for a payday. So, for Salah, I just again, given the way you've been playing, I'm not too concerned about his future with us. I think we'll get some sort of deal done with him, just because where else are you going to go, bud? You're not. Everyone's leaving that league. You're not going to go there. So it really makes sense for him to stay with us.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Realistically, I'm of the mind that we need to be a little bit what's the word? Word is escaping me at the moment. We need to stop looking at players through rose-tinted glasses and maybe need to cash in on certain players when we can. And I said this is our unpopular opinions way earlier at the start of the season, that we needed to sell Van Dijk and Salah. And thankfully, with my ever-loving curse, they've decided to make me eat my words this season. But the point still stands, though, Matty. Is there a particular time that you cash in on particular players when you need to, and not leave ourselves vulnerable? Similarly to how the midfield situation left us vulnerable this summer. If the right offer came in for Salah, and you were able to get somebody like a Johan Bakayoko, or even if we lost Salah but got Mbappe, would you be happy with that exchange?
Who wouldn't be happy? But for me, Mo Salah's probably one of the best players I've seen in my lifetime play for Liverpool, and I think he's very smart. He's very brand conscious, Mo Salah, as well. And I think he maybe did get his head turned slightly last summer by the wages on offer in Saudi, but I think he's smart enough, and his agent, as much as I hate him, he's a very, very smart man. He's not even an agent, he's a lawyer. He knows what he's doing, and I feel like Dave said, give it a year, see how it pans out. If it goes well, then we'll look at Saudi. If it doesn't, we won't. Mo Salah's going to be like Cristiano, who plays till he's like 36, 37. So I think he's still got years to give. And I think from a club business side, from a commercial aspect, Mo Salah is irreplaceable in terms of his shirt sales in like Egypt and even in like your Saudis, your Qatars, and stuff like that, like your Muslim-based countries. I think Mo Salah is genuinely like a god over there, and the shirt sales alone pretty much pay Mo Salah's wages from what he's getting in the Middle Eastern market. I think for Liverpool, he can everyone says maybe he won't be as good this year, may not score as many goals, racking the assists up. He's an absolute freak, and he's so consistent. He's the most consistent attacking force we've had, I would say, in the last 20 years. Yeah, I know we've had Suarez. Yeah, I know we've had Torres. But Salah's done this consistently and stayed loyal to Liverpool for year after year after year after year. He's always in that golden boot race. He's always carrying us. He's always cropping up with them important goals. He's the most frustrating player in our side to watch, because he'll do stuff and he'll be like, just bloody pass that ball because he wants that goal and stuff like that. But I think Salah is priceless to Liverpool. Genuinely do think he's priceless. I think if he gets a new contract as well, he won't get much more a week. It maybe he'll get a few more bonuses. Say, for example, he gets 50 grand a goal, he might get 80 grand a goal. I think that's how they'll do it. And I think he'd stay. It's well documented that Salah said he wanted to come to Liverpool and become a Liverpool legend. Now, if he stays at Liverpool for 3-4 more years, he could potentially be in the top 1 or 2 goal scorers for Liverpool. He could potentially go down as one of the most decorated Liverpool players of all time. And I think he knows that. He's already surpassed Steven Gerrard in Champions League goals, which is crazy. He could potentially be our leading goal scorer in the Champions League by the time he's done. And I think he knows that in his brand. He's very brand conscious, Salah. And I think even bringing your Mbappe's in, it's then how will he settle in the Prem? Like Mo Salah is a consistent performer, and by the next summer comes, he's only got a year left on his contract. So I think if he had a decent contract behind, you could get 300. I think you can name your price for Salah. He's that good, because realistically, who's better in world football than him in that position? Because I don't think there is anybody. I don't think anyone you could replace him with. Even Mbappe, yeah, he's got this big reputation, but then there's not proven that he can come into the Premier League and hit the numbers Mo Salah's hitting, because he doesn't just score, he assists. People say to him, oh, you're too selfish, so he starts assisting and smashes that every single year as well now. So he's our best player by a country mile. And I think if you take him out, we admit, well, how much we struggled without Mane the first year he went. I'd times that by about 10 if we lost Salah.
Yeah, I agree with you. I guess it's more looking on it with unsentimental eyes myself, of being like, look, it's my worry of he's what, 31, 32 now. He could very easily, not to say that he isn't, because I think he's very much similar to a Ronaldo, where he just looks after his body religiously. He doesn't drink, he doesn't smoke, he doesn't party, and that may come down to his Muslim faith. Probably it does. As you said, he's very brand conscious. He's never in any controversy, family man. He is the perfect epitome of what you'd want as the face of your team, and that's the off the team stuff. I think it is priceless as well. Chad, are you of a similar opinion to Matty on that, of like, you'd have to name your price, and even at that, it might be a push for Mo Salah? Or is there a price that could come in for him in the next 6 months that you would maybe turn your head at?
For Mo Salah, I feel like like Mary said, like Raj said, he's a legend to the club. There's no rush for him. Honestly, he has one. When it comes to the summer, he'll have 1 year left on the contract. I still think that he won't sign with anyone, even if the contract runs down to the next summer. I still think that we'll have a chance to re-sign him or sign him to a new contract. So for me, and especially now with the way the Saudi League is playing out and the way that it's not working out in the way that everyone else hoped it would be. And it could be a possibility that signing Mo Salah could help revive that league, because he is a Muslim player coming into a Muslim-dominated country. It could get the fans around the league and get the fans around the team and Mo Salah, especially, making him a kind of a god to the whole football in Saudi, and being that guy that brings Saudi to the next level, especially when coming up to the World Cup when they get a chance to hold it. I think it's 2036. But the point is, like, Salah is we don't need to sell him. We don't need to re-sign him immediately. It's not a rush again to make sure that he is a Liverpool player at the end of the day. He's going to be a Liverpool player, and Liverpool make sure that he stays a Liverpool player. But they'll also take their time to readjust the situation, because again, we're building a new team and we want the new team to start, as we've seen throughout the course of the season, the new team is trying to develop into their own kind of, Liverpool brand, their own kind of Liverpool team. So we're not necessarily going in a downslide at the moment. We are picking up slowly and surely. So, getting a player like Mbappe is, for instance, like Mary said, he's not going to adjust immediately into the league. He's not going to adjust immediately into the Premier League and start firing off and being that World Cup winning player, the top scorer in the French league, the best player in the world kind of player yet. We don't know that. Mo Salah did it obviously, but he had experience in the Premier League and he had a great team around him to develop into that player. So it's a toss up really. Again, like I said, there's no rush for us to re-sign him. I don't think he leaves on a free at Liverpool. And yeah, it's how he develops and how he sees his future. If he sees that he's getting limited game time, or Darwin starts picking up the goals, and you got Nunez and Gakpo and Jota start picking up goals, he needs to change his system to being more of a provider instead of an attacker. Or if it's the other way around, and he needs to start picking up the weight in terms of goal scoring. I mean, he is the top goal scorer in the league at the moment, so it kind of shows that he's not falling off that much. So yeah, it's I wouldn't sell him at the moment. I wouldn't rush to re-sign him as well, because again, you can see the options might be different in the summer, or options might be different in January next year. So yeah, for me, Salah's a Liverpool player. He'll stay a Liverpool player for a while. Until either he decides he wants to leave, or until Liverpool decides it's a better option to have someone else, a younger player, coming to fill in a position, so the new team can start developing around that player as well.
Yeah, and realistically, we've the Scottish Messi sat behind him, so we don't really have much to worry about. We'll just replace like for like, realistically. So exactly. Something on the Mbappe news that I think might hold a little bit more weight than what an awful lot of people would think. Nike and Jordan have decided to end their Jordan PSG collab after the 25-26 season due to the sales running out of steam. So basically, Nike will no longer be Nike, and by proxy Jordan will no longer be sponsoring the PSG team in the next 2 years. Who's a team that's sponsored by Nike?
And I said this in the summer. Didn't I say this with the LeBron James? Maybe making LeBron James that Jordan kind of thingy.
I'll have everybody converted. By the end of the month, I will have everybody converted to get on the Mbappe. It's Jude Bellingham 2.0, baby. I don't care. I'll have the difference was with the Jude Bellingham thing. There was a signing. There was a transfer fee. There's no transfer fee here.
Yeah, it's a
it might be included in the salary, but there's no transfer fee realistically.
And that's the issue. The whole contract signing. He's going to ask for an arm and a leg to play football. And which is the worst thing that young players have now, where clubs are forcing such high contracts on them, like cutting them off by their legs so they can't go anywhere else because no one else can afford to pay them. But that's the thing with Mbappe. Sorry, you have this opportunity. He is a Nike sponsored player. You have LeBron James, who is a Nike sponsored player. He has his brand in Nike. He did the same thing with Jordan. You could implement that into Liverpool. This is a bigger brand. As much as PSG is the only club in Paris, and they are the only club that's, that can boast to this appeal, being in the city of love. You have a club that's built in the history of football, in Liverpool Football Club. And there's no bigger club than Liverpool Football Club, especially in the biggest league in the world, which is England. There's a bigger market there for me. And as much as there's a lot of doubters, I feel like you can make this deal. There's plenty of room to make this deal for Mbappe. That's my opinion.
I think so as well. Just looking at it, I'll talk everybody into it, because from a financial standpoint, you're going to lose it. You're going to lose Thiago, whether it be on a free or whether you're going to lose him now. Paul. If that happens, I'll shit my hands and clap. But Yeah, like looking at it from a financial standpoint, realistically, like, okay, let's say he wants the sun, moon, and the stars. Mo Salah at the moment gets paid about $1 million a week after bonuses. So it's not exactly out of our wheelhouse to do it. And as Manny mentioned, like, it is possible that he may not tend to the Premier League like we would like, but then again, it's either we take that risk or somebody else takes it and takes him, or it's just PSG just keep him. And we said it before the stream started, myself and Maddie were in agreement. Our most likely thing that's going to happen is that he'll stay at PSG and just fuck the rest of his career, or he'll decide to pull up his big boy pants and move to a league where you can actually go and win something like a Champions League or a Premier League or La Liga if he does decide to go to Real Madrid. But I don't think Madrid are going near him purely because they've been absolutely gagging for him since 2022 and nothing has come of it. And he went and re-signed another deal with PSG at that point. But the finances of it are the interesting thing. I'll throw it out to everybody on the panel. Like, do you think there even is a slight possibility that he comes? Race, I'll throw that to yourself first. Do you think there's even a slight possibility that he comes, or are we just talking ourselves into another Jude Bellingham and we're all going to be hurt by the fact that he's for PSG?
Well, you mentioned it, you know, there is no transfer fee associated with this, so there's more, you can see more of a path, but then again, you have the sky high wages that he's going to demand and bonuses, whatnot. You know, I feel like we have this conversation every couple of months or so, but you know, with the Real Madrid, you know, rumors and links seemingly going a little sour, you know, I mean, it is down to Mbappe. Does he want to, you know, how much ambition does he have? Does he want to waste his career in with PSG and really not do much and just kind of reserve all of his success kind of on the national team level, maybe go for another World Cup, the Euros, whatever, but achieve really nothing at the club level other than some league titles, you know, that what does that really mean? Or does he want to come over to, you know, historic club like Liverpool or, you know, for Real Madrid, if that's, you know, in the cards, you know, and try to win something and become more of a face, you know, more of the face of the game, because he really does have, you know, you look at, you know, of course, Ronaldo and Messi kind of exiting stage left, and now we're kind of looking for that next superstar. The next, who could that be? And Mbappe certainly has that, and really should be the face of the game. You know, if he goes to a club like that, he can absolutely become that. You know, I wouldn't have any, you know, issues with him or any concern with him comes to the Premier League and adjusting to life, because I think, you know, we would get him running. Klopp would definitely have him firing on all cylinders, and he would just be an incredible player for us. I don't see how we would have both Salah and Mbappe in our team. I think it's one or the other. I don't see how, you know, we could just afford that and put the money aside. And certainly, you know, with them in the team, I just maybe they could fit on the field, but I don't know. You know, that's another question for another day, how they could fit. But I just think financially there'd be a lot of roadblocks there. But if you are, you know, looking to, if Salah's moving on, then you look to Mbappe, you could, you know, put him right in the team. I think it wouldn't be any issue. You know, we keep trying, again, we're trying to talk ourselves into this because, you know, realistically, what are his options? You know, it's PSG, it's us, it's Real Madrid. I don't see any other team, you know, putting aside, you know, where he would want to go. And I think, you know, he's made it clear that, you know, there's really only those three options. And I'm kind of with you guys. I think it's most realistic that he just does stay at PSG and just tries to will that team to, I mean, really in the Champions League to come out on top in that competition. You know, they're trying so many different ways to build that team over there. They bought in a bunch of players. Now they're kind of more of a youth movement and managers, and there's just so much going on over there. But if he really does have the ambition, there's so much more stability, you know, in other places, specifically with us. You know, and of course, you know, there is some of a relationship between Klopp and Mbappe. There's some admiration there. So, you know, it's you know, if you're looking for other options other than PSG, I think we're the clear cut, you know, more than Madrid, I would say.
Yeah,
I mean, obviously biased, but you know, it's easy to see, you know, just from putting the financials aside, just team fit, ambition, all that. It's easy to see why we would be the perfect destination for him.
Yeah. Speaking of the player itself, Matty, let's say we sign him and we're all, I've bought Jay his Mo Salah wig, and he has to wear it for the next 12 months, and we're all going absolutely nuts, and the channel explodes and everybody's sipping champagne and we're all loving life. let's say we do sign him. Do you think he fits into this squad given his current player profile? Like Paul has mentioned a couple of times on stream that he seems to be a bit of a passenger out of possession. He doesn't seem to track back. He doesn't seem to press, which is something that's required from the wingers in Liverpool's team. We have Diaz who tracks back and presses. We have Salah at the age that he's at. I say the age that he's at. He's 3 years older than fucking me. Age that he's at, tracking back and being able to cover those wing positions in the midfield to allow fullbacks to come up. Do you think he'd buy into the philosophy, or do you think the ego is too much and it's possibly better for the locker room to maybe avoid him?
Yeah, I think he would, to be honest. I think he needs to sort his attitude, but I think if anyone can do that, it's Jurgen Klopp, to be honest. I think he admires Klopp, and I think, to be honest, that PSG is just a bit of an arsehole because he can be. He literally can. He's the main man there. He practically runs the club there. He doesn't need to track back because he knows that they're going to get the ball back anyway, because there's PSG and then the drop-off's quite alarming, to be honest. I know that it's been a bit more competitive in recent years, but he doesn't really need to track back, because if they say anything to him, he's just like, oh well, where if he comes to Liverpool, he's then got that point to prove. I think he knows he wants to be one of the best players in the world. If he comes to Liverpool, all eyes will be on him. What can he do in the Premier League? Even when Messi was in his prime, everyone was saying, can he do it on a cold, wet night in Stoke and stuff like that? Like, there's always that question surrounding these players. And for me, I think Mbappe would come, he would track back. I don't think he'd come in, though, as a winger. I think we'd play him down the middle.
Do you reckon?
Yeah, I think I think it's doable Salah and Mbappe as well, to be honest. Liverpool have got more money than what we make out. That's why we haven't got any problems with FFP and profit and sustainability and stuff like that.
We're sat well in the green.
Yeah, and the money that you'd make off Mbappe, the whole population of France will probably end up in a Liverpool shirt.
Mbappe would pay for himself in a couple of months, easily.
Yeah, his shirt number would be. And there's a comment there from Paul about Real Madrid 1 and 9. I strongly believe Real Madrid want Haaland or Osimhen more than Mbappe, and they know that they can't go, because they've seen Barca that they're fucked. They know they can't go and buy Mbappe and Haaland in 1 year, and this year they need to got Joselu. That's it. That's why they've been playing Bellingham as like a false 9. So they need that number 9, and I think Mbappe could come to Liverpool and be that 9, and Madrid will be pissed off that they didn't get him to play the 9 for them. I've got a lot of faith, because I do think Nike will get involved. Yeah. I think the admiration for Klopp. I don't think Liverpool and John Henry have ever give up on him since flying him around on the jet, trying to sway him when he was in Monaco. I think for FSG, a lot of people doubt FSG, myself included. But to get someone like him, he's your brand player. If Salah goes in 2-3 years, you've got Mbappe there as your brand player. The money you'll make off him in terms of shirt sponsorships, the collaborations you could do with like LeBron, them having Mbappe as an asset will do them favours in terms of in the sport market. With going for an NBA team, they can link up with LeBron, with Liverpool, and with Mbappe, and with Nike. And if Nike half fund some of the deal for Mbappe, they can team up with them with other ventures. And there's just so many moving parts that it takes to happen. But I do think Mbappe, what comes across to me through like reading articles, and I think he adores his mum's opinion, and his mother wants him to play for Liverpool. And I think that's our biggest selling point at the minute. His mum wants him at Liverpool, and she's his agent. So I think it's possible, but I believed we'd get Bellingham, and he fucked it all up for everyone. So I don't really know. I think it's either us or stay at PSG. I think Madrid's completely out the question, to be honest. And I think Madrid will target more Haaland, Osimhen this summer, to be honest, because or maybe a defender. But then if you're Mbappe, you'd much rather go and play for Real Madrid in the sun, playing with Bellingham, Tchouameni, Camavinga. I don't know, but I do think Mbappe is possible, and I don't think we need to lose Salah to get him. Liverpool Football Club have a lot more money than what we make out, a lot more money. And this summer, you're going to have like Matip, Thiago, and a few others coming off the wage bill as well.
Yeah.
And maybe we say to Mbappe, right, okay, if you want 900 grand a week, no problem, but you're not getting none of our bonus incentives. Or we say to him, here's 400 grand a week, go and score this many goals, and you're going to be on like Salah a mil a week. And then that's where it comes in. I think a lot of people forget that, because Salah on paper is only on 350 grand a week. They think, Liverpool would never be able to afford Mbappe's 600 grand a week wages. But when you
$1 million a week bonuses, like
when you look at his salary at the end of the year, on like company's house and stuff, he's getting like £1 million every single week off Liverpool. So we can more than afford his Mbappe, and then his wages will be paid for through the shirt sponsorship, and then Nike will do loads of stuff at Liverpool. So Nike will probably inject more cash. You'd get your Nike deal renewed, which probably will anyway. But Nike are going to throw stupid money at Liverpool to renew that deal if Mbappe's here. Where Nike also won't want him to play for Madrid in an Adidas shirt, who's their biggest competitor. So I think there's a lot of moving parts. I do think it'll happen, especially because it's free. But then it's the question of, if we get Mbappe this summer and nobody else, is that all right for everyone? Because I don't think it is, because we need centre backs. That's my worry. I think if we get Mbappe, it's done. That's all we get. Wouldn't be annoyed because we've got Mbappe, but
there's other holes. There's other holes to fill. But in saying that, if you think about it, we would actually have an all right centre back room. It's just that we've kind of been slapped with really bad injuries at the moment. Like, realistically, we have 2 left backs coming back in our starter, Andy Robertson, our backup, Costa Simicas. We have the likes of Bradley and Chambers coming through the youth system. We then have Kwanzaa as our up and coming centre back. We've Kanate, we've Gomez, we've Matip is going to be renewed on a new deal to allow himself to get back to strength. He could easily just sit there at depth. Whether or not he'd be able to play or not is a different thing with a surgery and everything. Then we'd have Van Dijk and Kanate as our starters. We then possibly have a more established midfield and be more comfortable with playing with each other. I think we'd be fine on our own depth, and we could maybe hit something in the January window of that year to make a signing similarly to how we did with a Van Dijk and how we did with a Diaz and a Gatpo. That was an impact signing that could come in straight away. I think we could work it that way. And a handy thing about it, as far as I'm aware, the way the bonuses work, I don't think they count towards FFP or profit and sustainability. I don't think the bonuses do, which is why a lot of players that are on lower, like you have Haaland who's on salaries, but like a salary of 400 grand a week, but his bonuses are through the fucking roof. I think that's how they circumvent it. I don't know exactly, so don't quote me on that. But Chad, I'll throw the final question to you, because this is an interesting one as well. Because if we go as what Matty said, we play Mbappe in the centre, and we have Mo Salah on the right, and we have whoever it may be on the left. Who would go first of all? Who would go on the left for you of at mid front three of somebody Mbappe, Salah? And would you end up departing with either Lucho or Diogo Jota in the summer to allow the Mbappe deal to be facilitated and allow a rotation of players? To be honest, I see the world where we could keep all of them, but I think it might be a very stretch, as Matty said. Probably nothing else happens that summer. Is there do you see somebody possibly leaving due to that? Maybe Luis Diaz. I know he's kind of regained his form a little bit, but his dad has come out and said he wants to play for Barcelona. Could very easily get 70 million off them if they could find it down the back of their couch. Who would be your front three? Would you have Darwin on the left, you have Diaz on the left, or would you have Diogo Jota rotating across the front line?
For me, it'll be Salah, Mbappe, and then you'll have Darwin. I think that's his best position, especially at the moment where he's trying to still mature into the play. He's only 24. I mean, he's coming from, we talked about it again on Wednesday. He's coming from a third world country. He's coming from a poor background. He's coming into a country and a league that's demanding more of you in terms of your presence and your maturity levels. So he's still maturing into that level where he can be that guy that can control himself in situations, so he can play in the 9 position. But at the moment, I think his best position is on the wing. If you've seen it against Fulham, the way he ran on the wing, the way he took on players, the way he ran past players. So, yeah, for me, it'll be Mbappe, Diaz, and Salah. I mean, the rotation between the 3 of them, in the game scenario is crazy. Where Mbappe is switching with Salah, and he's on the left now. He's attacking the right back, and then you got Darwin switching with Salah again, or switching with Mbappe. Now you got Darwin, who's a much taller player than Mbappe, holding up play and allowing Mbappe and Salah to run between the lines. So there's a lot of combinations, and when it comes to our front line staff or our attacking room, we've got a lot of talent there. And the one talent that I don't want us to lose is Diogo Jota, because Jota is a very important player when it comes to attacking and scoring goals. The way Jota plays, he doesn't seem like a 90-minute player, but he is a proper player when he comes onto the field and then he adapts to that, the environment and the feel of the game, as an impact sub. And he's got an eye for goal. He's a very good player when it comes to scoring goals and we need that kind of player when it comes to our front line, especially with Darwin not at that level yet. So for me, he would be someone that we have to keep, as even if it has to put him on bench or him and Darwin rotate on that left side. But he's one of the key players that we have to keep. And then with regards to Diaz, I do see Diaz leaving in the summer or in next year's January window, just because I don't see him fitting completely in the team at the moment, especially with this how the team is evolving. And we've seen over the course of the season, obviously he's had his difficulties with his family and with these injuries, so he hasn't gotten the chance to get his feet down on the ground and actually push on. And we've seen him do that now, given the time that he's had to recoup his mind and recoup his body. So for me, he's the only one that I see that is like that outsider kind of player. I also don't see Gakpo leaving anytime soon because, again, Gakpo offers a lot for us in terms of that false nine position, getting the players involved in the game. But yeah, for me, that'll be the thing. And, talking about the Mbappe again, just for 1 second, let's talk about it in the sense of him as a player. You go into Real Madrid, you're going to have the pressure on you because it's Real Madrid. But at the same time, you want to be able to, put your name out there as the best in the world. And to do that, you need the best competition. Going to Real Madrid is just like staying at PSG in a sense, because you're going to dominate the league there. There's not a lot of competition in Spain. When you come to Liverpool, you got a whole lot of competition. You got to go up against Haaland. You got to go up against Chelsea, Arsenal, Tottenham in a sense. So there's a lot more incentive for a pure passionate player that wants to play football to come to Liverpool than go to Real Madrid. And that's where I feel like he needs to make that adjustment if he wants to be, I just want to be a money player, I want to play for money, or if I want to play for a game. If you want to play for the game, you come to England. If you want to play for money, you go to Real Madrid. And that's how I see it, of how he makes this decision.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I think as Maddie said, like, I don't think the Real Madrid news is anything to worry about. I think they're targeting more of a 9, as was mentioned in the comments. And also the Premier League, the press in the Premier League would absolutely adore if Mbappe came here. Like the press that would be there to show him and Haaland facing off in a City versus Liverpool game would just blow the internet. And Hellier mentions here that he wants 1.24 million a week. Sure, Salah gets that anyway. So
that's not bad. But again, you see,
it's
make
a
lot
week
of money. You can make a lot of money just coming to the Premier League because of the media attention.
Oh yeah, like 100%. But see, like, as it's that 1.24 million a week, Salah already gets $1 million a week, and most of that comes in bonuses, and his weekly salary is only 350 grand. As Maddie said, we could turn around and say, right, you can either have 900 grand a week and no bonuses, or you could just have 350 to 400 grand a week, and you go and hit these targets and win these trophies with us, you'll get that money. And that then obviously incentivizes him that way. I realistically, I think that's probably the best way to go about it. Be like, look, you have a point to prove. That's the way that I see it myself. But
look at shirt sales as well, Steve, and I've just had a quick look. $1 million a week on average a shirt. It's about £70 now. That's 14,200 shirts a week.
I'd sell triple that.
Yeah. That
easily.
Yeah.
So we'd make them like Mbappe is kind of like that self-fulfilling prophecy. He'd pay for himself. It's one of those things, and as Manny mentioned, like, we've more money than we let on, but it's only because we're so well restricted into FFP. It's absolutely fantastic as a club to go to sleep at night and wake up in the morning and know you're not going to get slapped with sanctions. Not that can be said for our neighbours across the way, but it is that nice feeling that you know that you're probably one of the only teams that are playing by the rules. Arsenal too.
But who would you guys sell in terms of the front line if you need to sell someone?
Diaz, myself personally, I think the lad needs a fresh start. Not on any skill or anything like that myself. I think he's a quality player. I think the injuries have hurt him. The shit with his family has hurt him. I think he needs a fresh start in Spain, Barcelona, let's say, would probably be the best for him. Now, whether or not he fits into that Barca team is another thing. it's I think it's more not that I don't want him with Liverpool. I'd love to keep him here, but I think if you want to be selfish about it and look at it from a player point of view, I think maybe he'd be the one that'd go purely for the want of a fresh start. Matty, Race, would you be in an agreement with that, or would you rather let somebody else go?
In current form, no, I wouldn't want him to go. But I do think, given what's happened to his family, as Dad said about Barca, I think Diaz would be quite up for moving all his family to like Spain and just settling down and starting life there, to be honest. But I don't know. I feel like it couldn't be Darwin because you're not going to make the money back that you paid for him. Jota, I think you could make good money on him, but Jota, you'd need him to go to someone like Newcastle, I think, to really maximise profits on him. So I think Lucho's the one you'd make the money on the most, really, and but he's not on the biggest wages out there of them. You'd want to be getting off the wage book, the biggest earner, really, to accommodate him, which would then be Salah, but no chance. It's hard. I don't know. I just don't know what. I think I'm more confident on Liverpool than Madrid, but I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to lose any of them.
Yeah, neither do I. Race, is there anybody that you'd be not happy to let go, but in the grand scheme of things, if somebody's a sacrifice to the aggregate, who do you think it would be?
I think it would be Diaz. I think that Barcelona comment is just kind of in the back of my head. Now that's been said, it's just like with Coutinho when he first kind of rumbled at Barcelona. It's just like it's there. It's it just couldn't get that out of my head. I think, and from a team perspective too, like I think Mbappe going in on the left wing, I think there's your swap there, and so Diaz would kind of because that's really the only position Diaz is playing, the left wing. Mbappe maybe a little more fluid, but in essence would be in that spot. So I think that would make sense. Jota, I think he's just really important for us, just kind of coming off the bench, subbing in whenever, getting goals. Just we've talked about how underrated he is, and his goal scoring record is just so good. And then Nunez, I think you mentioned we wouldn't get back the fee that we purchased him for. I think we just wouldn't cut our losses there. We'd still try to work him out, and still is a good player. He's still putting up good numbers. And then Gakpo, I think I don't know. I think if you had to if you want to rank them, like Diaz would be the first one I'd sell, and then Gakpo would probably be number 2, just from a team fit wise. And Gakpo, not having the best of season, but still a versatile player in himself. So I think would still find a spot with Mbappe.
I think he's a very versatile player. I think that's one that you actually can't lose. I think he's like a Swiss Army knife of a player across that front three. He can play either wing, he can play in the middle, and he can play a 10 role, I feel. That's probably one that I wouldn't lose myself. But we've gone nearly an hour and 10 minutes into this. We could nearly go an hour longer talking about Mbappe alone, but we will leave it there. I want to thank everybody for joining us, and make sure that you do like and subscribe, and make sure that you have your notification bell on for all future videos. If you haven't subscribed already, or if you have, should I say, thank you so much. It's very much appreciated. Please make sure to like the video as well. But that is it from us, from myself, from Chad, from Maddie, from Race. Thank you guys so much for joining us on this Friday evening. I hope everybody has a lovely weekend watching some Premier League football. Burnley are currently 1-0 up at halftime against Luton. Does fuck all for my fantasy Premier League, so I don't have any Burnley players on, but sure luck. My fantasy Premier League starts tomorrow. But without further ado, guys, thank you so much for joining us. I hope everybody has a wonderful weekend, and we will see you guys tomorrow.